Wherever we go, we're not to be a bouncer at the door. We're to be guests and hosts at the picnic that God is inviting all of us to. I can't tell you how many times I've encountered someone who was very different from me, who lived differently, who loved differently, who saw the world differently than me. But as we shared about our faith, they confessed one just as true as mine. And in some cases, I talked about my call to ministry, feeling called to care for God's people and to serve the community as we're all called to be neighbors. And the person across from me, though looking at the world very differently than me, had felt the same call at a different time, at a different place, by the same God who loves us all. I invite us to dream today, family, to think about heaven. There are people that are a part of God's family that we have not yet met, that we might be a bit surprised by God's glory as we get there. These are brothers and sisters that live differently than you and I, that might go by a different name that we would call them by. Perhaps they struggle with different things that are different than ours. Perhaps they're gay. Perhaps they have a different nationality and have never spoken English and are not welcome fully in our nation. But nonetheless, we are called to the same blanket of fellowship in the picnic of God's kingdom. Family, I pray that you're like me, that you don't want to wait one more day to have fellowship with your siblings who love the Lord like you and are willing to serve as wholeheartedly as you. I appreciate that you look to your neighbors for what they might need, not just to sustain yourselves, but to sustain them too. And that's our calling, perhaps to love people without worrying about the fine print. I think it's clear that the picnic of God's kingdom is not just for tomorrow when we're in a place far away from this, where all rights and wrongs of the world are made clear. But we're called to live and to eat at the picnic blanket that God provides today. Family, let's celebrate our siblings and those who are seeking in faith and earnestness. Again, seeking God in all things, because it's going to be a blessing for us and a blessing for them. Let us be willing and quick, like Peter did, at least when he arrived at Cornelius' house, to receive who the Lord sends and help by opening the picnic blanket even wider. Because we know there is enough for all. We know that God is able to provide, and we know that in community we are made richer and stronger and have stronger flavor. Let us go forth with fresh vision, dreaming of who God might bring to us and willing to receive them whenever that occurs. Because God isn't finished yet. There are many times and places we'll be receiving people, again, we would not have expected. But that is exactly where Jesus calls us. That is exactly where God receives us and shows love abounding more and more.